New Orleans, NOLA, Bourbon Street, the Big Easy. These are the words that come to mind when we think of the city of New Orleans in Louisiana, located in the southeastern part of the state. It's a city that we think of as a good time, for good food and a lot of fun. There's so much more to that. 10 years ago, it was hit with a tragic hurricane, Hurricane Katrina, and the effects can still be seen today. People lost their homes, people lost everything. 26.2% of the population is currently living in poverty. They have so little access to good health care, little access to healthy food. Of the population in itself, 33% is living with obesity. That's more than a third of the population who's currently suffering with a disease that causes other diseases. There's correlation between those who suffer from obesity, where they also experience things like type 2 diabetes, higher rates of possible cancer diagnoses, and death. But what are we doing to fix it? That's the question. Because there's common interventions that are given. Diet and exercise. While individuals are so different, why are we continuously giving the same advice, same treatment options to every person? Go to the gym and run more. Eat a salad. It's so much more than that. With every person being different, every intervention, every treatment option should be different as well. Obesity is suffered by 35% of people in the United States, a number that is too big, a number that should be changed. The healthcare industry, obesity cost $147 billion in 2016. $147 billion is going to people who need treatment for things like the diabetes, for other chronic conditions, when that money could be used for things like better treatment options, helping people find the changes that help them. Unfortunately, that's not something that has been focused on. So what changes can be made? How can we look at it differently? One thing is that there's more than just physical health. There's mental health and there's emotional health. Unfortunately, those aren't as focused on, especially when those don't have great access to healthcare. In New Orleans, there's only 85 physicians for every 100,000 patients. That's too little. So there's not enough time for them to focus on what's different about you that we can focus on to help you be better, feel healthier. Because when people are obese, when people are living a more sedentary lifestyle, not only does it open them up to other diseases, but it also can open them up to things like living in poverty. With them being unable to necessarily go to work all the time, they can do things like lose their job or not make as much as they need to. This causes more problems, like living in poverty, like not having access to good health care. That needs to change. When we encourage people to just diet, to just go work out, we're missing a big picture. We're missing the individualized care that's necessary for these people. Working out, while it can be a solution for some, is not for everyone. There's also, unfortunately, a big stigma. People see obese people working out, and they're like, nice try. Unfortunately, people are mean, and that's not going to change. When people feel judged, when they feel like they're not being respected, they're not going to want to try as much. So instead of going to the gym, they're going to start working out at home, which is very hard. Some people can't accomplish it. Some people do work out at home, and they're fine. But there's a lot of people who can't. They get distracted by things like, oh, I'll work out later. I'm just going to watch TV now. I'll work out later. It's an easy thing. I do it. We all do it. We look for excuses. We look for reasons why not to do something that's not necessarily fun or easy. It's a human condition. Well, when we're encouraging that, we're encouraging the people to stay home. I'm not going to work out. I'm going to sit on my couch. I'm not going to go out because I feel judged. That creates an effect of people staying alone, isolating themselves, which can cause problems like anxiety, depression, which there's a high correlation between the two when it comes to those suffering from obesity. So instead of only focusing on the physical health, let's take a look at the mental and emotional side of things. Mental strength is something that's to be honored. It's a good thing because we can work with people. We can say, instead of just eat a salad, well, what mental exercises can we look at? What can we change about the way you think about what you're going to eat, how you're going to work out, how you're going to change your life? What are the things that inspire you to change? What are the things that will make you feel better about yourself? It's changing not only the physical environment that people are in, but the mental environment. Because when you change that, you changing the way people think. And when we change the way people think, we see changes. It's a lot that goes on in your brain. Your brain causes a lot of things. So let's have it change you in a positive way. Start feeling better about yourself and start encouraging healthy behaviors instead of just suggesting, go to the gym, go buy kale. Because also, some people can't afford gym memberships. They can't afford some of the healthier foods, or they believe that they cannot. They might live in something called a food desert, which is known as an area where people don't live close enough to food that's healthy, or they can't get to healthy food. So what are you supposed to do? You feel like you're in a rut. So we change things. Some people have SNAP benefits. SNAP is a program where people can get food stamps and buy food when they're living in certain impoverished states. Well, people so often feel that even with the SNAP benefits, they still can't get healthy food. There are some positive changes being made in Lexington, Kentucky. There is a farmer's market, and when people buy healthier food, they get double the SNAP benefits. That's the positive encouragement that needs to be changed. Make it something where you're like, well, of course I want to get the healthy food because I'm being rewarded. We're saying, go for it, continue on, instead of making the healthy food way more expensive and bringing the unhealthy food way down. Because, of course, you're going to say, I'd rather just buy something a little less expensive because I can't afford that. We're limiting the ability for people to change their lives when we're not making it available. Even the way grocery stores are laid out, it's made where if you go to the end of each aisle, there's usually food that's promoted or that's like, look at me. It's never healthy food. It's always foods like different chips, different cookies, holiday foods, holiday candies. Well, that's fun and all. It's making a person focus more on that. Grocery stores are laid out in a way for you to buy certain foods. Foods aren't always healthy. All the healthy food is usually in the one veggie fruit aisle, and you go through and you look, and a lot of it's so expensive that people are like, I can't afford this. Well, most of the time they actually can, if done properly. So also educating people, letting them understand that there are options, that they can afford it if it's done properly. Working with SNAP to create environments where people can buy better food is another big thing. People who live in poverty don't have access to good health care like the rest of us. Or they don't always. Sometimes they do. And by the rest of us, I'm referring to the community of people who are lucky enough to have insurance, and health insurance that's decent, which is hard to find these days. When these people go to the doctor's offices, a lot of times it's a free clinic, and they're pushed right through. Move on to the next. What's wrong with you? Next person. What's wrong with you? Next person. That's not enough. We need to individualize care. That is hard in free clinics, but if we make a difference, having a realization that when you treat obesity, it's not only physical, as I've mentioned previously, mental and emotional as well. So having people like, yes, a general physician available to help treat things like the other side effects of being obese, but also to work with a counselor or some type of therapist in order to work with your mind. Let's change your life. But also make these people feel that they're understood, so they're not isolated, so they're not living in a house where they're unhappy and they don't want to leave to change their life. Also working with a nutritionist and helping them realize, hey, yes, some of this stuff is more expensive, but teaching them how to shop in a proper way so that they can buy food that's not only healthy, but also affordable. There's a lot of changes we need to make. That's a fact. But acknowledging that everyone's different is a big step we can take. a step that we can realize that obesity can be treated in more than just two manners, exercise and diet. We realize that it can be treated with more of a better mindset. So let's make the change. Let's start working on different things. I encourage all of you to go, be a better person, and also encourage people in your life, not just obese, but anyone. Be an encouraging person, and you'll see encouraging results. Thank you, everyone.